everyone. Hello, welcome to True North Tuesday. Popping on just a few seconds early. It's not quite 12, but I see that I do have one person watching, and that's Miss Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Sherry responded to the comments that I have in the comment feed about if there is a song. Hi, Sherry. Is there a song, a sound, or voice that immediately makes you feel calmer and happier? Or more emotional? And I was just reading through my script, and I was just thinking about I'm gonna share my song later that lately just gets me right here and right here. Okay, that's my gratitude alarm is going off, so it is officially noon. But Sherry said the dance, and oh my gosh, that song brings me back. I think that song, I remember hearing it the most when I was in college, and it's just like going out and dancing with friends and, getting that cute guy to slow dance with you. That didn't happen to me very often. So, but that song is emotional. And she wrote The Dance and If Tomorrow Never Comes by Garth Brooks. I was never I'm not a huge country music fan. I do listen to country, old country. My dad raised us on Willie Nelson and Tom T. Hall and, even like John Denver and Chris Christopherson in the 70s. So, but Garth Brooks has some songs that when they've held up to time. What's that expression? They've kept their, they were popular in the moment, but you can still go back to them. So, hey everyone, welcome to True North Tuesday. If it's Tuesday and it's noon, at least in the Central Time Zone, it's time for True North Tuesday. And I'm Lori Lindsay, and I primarily work with women who are in the second half of their life, who are ready to reconnect with themselves, to quiet the outside noise, regulate their nervous system, and trust their intuition again and begin living from their own inner wisdom. And I just recently had somebody say to me, well, I'm not in midlife, or I'm not in the second half of my life. Will you still work with me? And I said, well, how old are you? And she said, I'm 45. And I said, well, you're kind of there, because if you double 45, that's 90. And I think a lot of people hear that phrase of second half of life and think of 60s or 70s. That's not the second half. You're well into the second half by then. So for me, I'm 57. And if I'm at midlife at 57, I mean, I'd be over 100. Maybe I'll live that long. But so yes, I do work with people who feel like they're not in the second half of their life. But primarily, I work with people that are kind of around my age, 50s, 60s, 70s. But I also have clients that are in their 30s. So don't let age fool you. It's a state of mind. So, we've got Monica here too. Hi, Monica. Welcome. I just saw you pop up, but then it disappears right away. Oh, there it goes. Oh, she just said hello. So this month at the Inner Compass, we are exploring living in resonance. And we started this month talking about rhythm. And then we started talking about last week, the nervous system and what is the frequency of safety with our nervous system. And this week we're talking about, can sound help us heal? And I want to be really careful when I use the word heal. So let's define that together. I'm not suggesting that a song or sound bowls or humming, and we're going to do a humming activity today, and that any of that replaces medical care, or that it magically will cure you. Although there's a ton of research out there heading in the direction of using vibration and frequency to help us. And those are medical people that are doing that. So it's not just us in the woo-woo community. What I am interested in is this. Can sound influence the brain and the nervous system, our emotions, our breathing, and our ability to settle? I just heard my door open to my office. I bet it was the mail. So I'm going to read that again, because now my mind is like, who's here? I bet it was the mail. Uh, what I'm really interested in is if sound can influence our brain, our nervous system, and our emotions, and it can help with our breathing and our ability to feel settled. And if it can do that, which I already think it can, maybe sound can become one piece of our healing process. So I want to start with one question. What is one sound that immediately changes how you feel? It doesn't have to be a song. What is a sound that immediately changes how you feel? I'm going to get to your song later, Monica, because we're going to talk about songs in just a minute. So is that sound a song? Is it an ocean wave? And I don't even live near the ocean, but I love the sound of that wave coming in and then receding back. Wave coming in and then receding back. I'm going to see who's in my office because I definitely feel a presence. Hello? Oh, yeah, there was. I'm going to go check it out. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, that is so weird. So I heard the door and I thought, oh, maybe the postal carrier just threw in mail or whatever. It's that time of day. And then I heard the door close. So somebody was actually standing out there and I could feel their presence. And if you're like me and in the woo-woo community, I'm just like, I have to go to check it out. And I think the person came in assuming that it was a different office and they were heading back down the hallway that way. Yeah, a little freak out for Lori Lindsay. So what sound instantly changes what's going on with you? Could it be birds in nature, thunder, a baby crying or laughing? I absolutely love the sound of children or babies laughing. A certain person's voice, or maybe there's a sound that instantly makes you feel tense. Your body just tenses up. Get that drip, drip, drip of the faucet. Or, oh, Sherry says, my neighbor, the blower and the mower, she's crazy and she drives me nuts. I think I've heard about this person before, Sherry. I think I have. Rigging on a sailboat mast. That's so specific. I haven't been on a sailboat for decades. Music is the balm for the soul. I often use it to connect with my higher self. I do too. Meditation Monday this week, there was a lot of silence. It wasn't filled with music or frequency the whole time. And I was really worried that the participants or people listening to the meditation were going to think, oh, I don't know if I like all this silence. But for me, being out in nature, like when I wake up in the morning, and yeah, I'm not in nature when I'm waking up in the morning, but I hear the animals that live outside my house. The birds singing. Oh, Debbie, welcome. Birds singing. I can sometimes hear other animals out there. What's the animal? Is it a cricket that when they rub their legs, you can hear that sound? I'll often hear that in the evenings. I love hearing what's beyond the room that I'm in. So, and what makes my body tense? That sound of my door opening and then, or is somebody really here? That sound made me tense. So just notice what comes to mind. And some of you were already sharing. You know what, Debbie, you're not late. You're exactly where you needed to be. And now you need to be here. So before you needed to be somewhere else. So don't apologize. Shocked to learn you don't sleep outside. Oh yeah, I'm sure you are. I live on a small lake, and we have a little trouble with mosquitoes in the early morning and late at night. So I'm not outside at that time. So we're going to talk a little bit about the research and how sound affects all of us. So we're going to talk about music, memory, and emotions. And so now I want you to think about a song that instantly brings you back to another time in your life. And you might hear a few notes and then suddenly remember where you were at, maybe who you were with, the feelings that it brought about, and something and sometimes even the room that you were in, like what it looked like. That's one of the reasons researchers are so interested in music. Music has been studied, and I talked about this in my podcast last week. There's, with somebody just being in my office and I'm a little freaked out, I've lost the name of the researcher I was going to talk about. But go back to my podcast from last week, and I talk about a researcher who is a musician, but also a scientist. He's a neuroscientist, and he's talking about how music affects our brain, our memories, perception. So music has been studied in connection with memory, movement, emotion, pain, anxiety, dementia, Parkinson's disease, rehab, and a whole slew of other stuff is coming out. Did I say already that I read a brief article? I did not read the research article. I read an article describing the research in this study that's happening at the NIH, the National Institute of Health, which is our national organization. They study a lot of stuff. But one thing they're studying right now is how vibration is affecting cancer, and that possibly vibration and frequencies could help cure cancer. Now, I don't remember it saying that we are in clinical stages with that, but they're studying it. And I personally find that fascinating. So it doesn't mean that music is a cure for anything, but it does mean that it tells our brain is responding to music in meaningful ways. So again, do you have a song that instantly transports you somewhere else? And I'm going to look in the chat. If by Bread brings back great meaning for Sherry. Again, I ask these questions about music and then I have no idea what song it is. I'm going to tell you a little story about me and a song just recently that came to mind. We were at the hospital this weekend. My father-in-law had a little accident, and my husband wore an MTV like vintage t-shirt. It wasn't actually vintage, but looks vintage. It looks like the old MTV. And the security guard started talking about MTV. And I made the joke, remember when MTV was music? And he's like, yeah. He goes, I just remember rushing home from school to watch videos. And I said, yes, Thriller. I vividly remember running home from, Woodway High School. I think I was in high school then. Maybe I was in the middle school, Madrona, running home because the premiere was happening that afternoon, or probably it happened sometime during the day, but you could watch it that day. And I remember rushing to get home, which if you know me, I don't run for anything. If I'm running, you better be running too, because somebody's after us. But I remember getting into the house, going into the living room with this tiny TV, like a 10-inch TV that I think I won at a fishing contest and sat in the living room. TVs were not allowed in the living room when I was a kid, but we had this little TV. And I sat right in front of it watching Thriller. So I remember what the room looked like. I remember how I felt. I was excited. Thriller. And how many years later, 40 some years later, I remember it like it was yesterday. Do I know what I had for breakfast yesterday? No. So there you go. You know what? I say this every week, but StreamYard does different things every week, and I have a hard time managing like all the things with it. It's like I'm relearning it. Get you some bat houses and put around your property. They love mosquitoes. That is true. I have a little thing with bats. I went to school in a university here in Minnesota that in the bluffs, the bats live in the bluffs, and I have vivid memories of like people. The bats would fly down and touch people's heads. So I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could do that. That would be a little much for me. So where does it take you, and what happens to your body when you hear that kind of music or hear that specific sound? Maybe it makes you smile. Maybe your chest tightens. Maybe you feel energized. Maybe a tear comes to your eye, even if you don't understand why. And sometimes sound reaches us in places that words cannot. I was just talking to a friend of mine who is a therapist. She works with vets, vets with PTSD, and she has discovered that the humming of bees, there's actually that frequency is touching the places of our vets in their brain to help with their PTSD. She wants to recreate that here in Minnesota, but we have a little problem called winter. So she's trying to figure out, like, could we build an atrium and fill it with bees? And then, of course, the person lays inside of a protective area so they don't get stung by bees. Or maybe she offers beekeeping, that sort of thing. But fascinating. Bees. Did you ever think bees? Yes, we need bees. It's not just for the pollen and all that. It is definitely, there's studies going on with bees right now. So let's talk about sound and our nervous system, and let's connect the two. Your body is constantly gathering information from your environment, and that's your nervous system. And it's asking, is this safe? Is there any threat? Do I need to move? Can I settle? And sound is a part of that information. So if you hear a crash behind you, or somebody opens the door of your office and they don't tell you who they are, if you hear something behind you, you may react without even knowing what's happening, and your heart speeds up. I had that. Your muscles tighten, your attention sharpens, and the sound can also be associated with settling down. So you can hear a sound that settles you down. You can also hear sounds that make you react. So a settling voice might be a familiar, or a settling sound might be a voice. It might be a repetitive rhythm, might be soft music, nature. And this is where we sometimes hear people talk about the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is an important part of our communication between our brain and our body. And it's Stephen Porges, if you want to look up. See, I can remember Stephen Porges, but I can't remember the guy with the music. See, that's the way my brain works. And it has to do with the parasympathetic regulation of our body. But I want to avoid oversimplifying. I don't want to tell you, do this one trick and it will activate your vagus nerve. The body is so much more complicated than that. I could tell you a million tools, but there's only going to be a few tools that work for you. So practicing those tools is where it's at. Doing something repeatedly to see if it works over time is what you need to do. Not try 100 tools that Lori Lindsay gives you. It's finding the right ones. So a better question is what kind of experience helps soften our body? And so when you're overwhelmed, what kind of sound do you actually want to hear? I'm just reading through the chat. I love Native American music lately. That's Debbie. I do too. I've been watching Tanya Hall, who is a jingle dancer, and there's actually a frequency with the jingles on their dresses. That's a healing frequency. So I've been really into her lately. Wind chimes. Yes. Atrium healing music on YouTube works great for me too. That's from Monica. Thank you. Acurian. Am I saying that right? I hope I'm saying it right. So when you are feeling overwhelmed, what kind of sounds actually make you feel settled? Is it no noise, so quiet? Is it music, nature, a human voice, or something rhythmic and strong? Remember, there's no right answer because your nervous system has its own preferences. So what works for me may not work for you. It could, it might, but you need to learn your own, right? And that's why I give lots of ideas so you can try them. So did you know that you carry a vibration within you wherever you go? You carry an instrument wherever you go. And guess what it is? It's your voice. And I'm going to point to here because in the woo-woo world, we talk about our voice here in this chakra. So humming, we're going to talk about humming, and that humming creates sound and vibration. And when you hum, just go ahead and hum. That's actually the frequency that you are resonating. I just was checking the time because at 12:30, I go meditate with people like Monica, and I didn't want to miss it. So sound and vibration, your particular vibration is what you hum. So try that. Even if you're in an office space, they won't notice. Just do it. So humming is especially interesting because it usually involves a longer exhale and it creates vibration that you can physically feel. So let's try something together. We're going to try a mini humming practice. And if it feels comfortable, take a slow breath in through the nose. And then as you breathe out, I want you to hum it. Again, breathe in and hum it out. One more time, breathing in and humming it out. So where did you feel that vibration? Did you feel it in your lips, your face, your throat, your chest, or somewhere else in your body? And did anything shift in just those 3 slow humming breaths? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. And we're not trying to create this is certain, it's going to happen, you're going to calm down from this particular practice, but maybe it will help you. Sherry says her chest, she felt the vibration in her chest. Well, I love that Debbie said a cat's purr is a healing frequency. And yes, I believe that to be true also. And that kind of goes back to our bee conversation. I love that. So we're just noticing. So this is just one practice and it's simple. This is something you can do driving down the road. For me, just doing those 3 breaths, I've let go of whatever that dysregulation I had of somebody standing in my waiting room and not kind of announcing who they are. And I was a little fearful somebody was in my office. Usually I lock my door, but this time I didn't. So has that changed anything for you? And whether you're watching live with me or you are watching the replay, share that. And you know what? I'm going to invite you to do that over the next few days. Just periodically do a humming, breathing exercise. So let's talk about sound bowls. Sometimes they're called singing bowls. Sometimes it's called a sound bath and deep listening. Now let's talk about sound bowls. And if you join me on Monday of this week, which was yesterday, we experienced how different it is to feel and listen to the sounds around us, and also to listen to a sound that eventually fades into silence. And so a sound bowl creates a layer of tones and overtones, and as the sounds begin to disappear, something interesting begins to happen. You start listening more carefully. You follow it. So this is after the sound has dissipated. Your brain wants to listen more carefully. It wants to follow whatever sound is coming. You wait, and suddenly the silence itself becomes part of the experience. So that alone can become a mindfulness practice. Now, if you were at Meditation Monday, so the meditation is called A Journey Through Sound, and one of the sounds, because I'm not proficient in editing videos, one of them ended like quite suddenly, right? And Lynn, who's not here with us, but she'll be watching later, she said, well, that was just rude. It just felt like it was rude that the sound just ended. And I, of course, had to crack up because in my mind, I was thinking it's because I'm not very good at editing music on my video editing. But it's true. It changed what was going on in her brain. So there's actually studies suggesting that sound bowls and sound meditation can help you reduce tension, anxiety, and negative moods. And the research is still developing, so I think it's important to stay curious without making claims that go beyond the evidence. Have you ever experienced singing or sound bowls or a sound bath in person? Did it feel different from simply listening to the music? What did you notice? Anyone experience it? Go ahead and put it in the chat. I was going to say something else, but then I changed my mind. If you're interested in a sound bowl practitioner, I have the gal for you. She's on Instagram, and it's called Healing. Oh gosh, she's not on she's usually in the feed. Healing Music with Felice. It's Feli. It's not in these show notes, but it's in my meditation show notes, and it's a click right to her Instagram account. So if you want to experience that with her, and she does it distance also. So we're going to move from hearing sound to feeling sound. And this brings me to vibroacoustic therapy. And I do have somebody in the chat who's experienced it multiple times, so I hope she jumps in. Some sounds in our life most of the sounds come to us through our ears. But with vibroacoustic therapy, you can feel it through your entire body. So in my sound lounge and sound lounges across the world, low frequency sound travels through the table that you rest on. And you feel, you're laying on a bed similar to a massage or a Reiki table, but it's not flat. It's kind of gently curved to your body. And you listen to it through your headphones, and then you physically experience it through the vibration at the same time. And this is one of the reasons I became so interested in this work. Because sometimes we spend so much of our time telling ourselves, I should calm down. I should stop worrying. I should relax. I should do more meditation, or I should meditate better. And sometimes the body needs another way. Sometimes the body needs an experience. And that has really become one of the central ideas of this month for me, is that sometimes safety isn't something that we can think ourselves into. Sometimes we need to experience something different. And sound may be one of the ways helping create that experience. So let's just talk about healing. Let's go back to our original question that we started with. What does healing mean? And can sound help us heal? And maybe part of the answer depends on what we mean by healing. Healing does not always have to mean curing something. Sometimes healing can look like feeling less overwhelmed, sleeping more deeply, having a moment when pain isn't the only thing demanding your attention, remembering, connecting, breathing more fully, feeling safe enough to rest, feeling like yourself again. So it doesn't have to be a cure, but it can be part of the puzzle. So what does healing mean to you at this point in your life? Not 10 years ago, and not somebody else telling you what it should mean, but what does healing mean to you now? Take a moment and think about it. And I'm going to jump over the chat because some people have responded. This goes back to vibroacoustic therapy. Monica said, it is so healing. I feel like I float out of each session. And I feel that way too. It's so centering. I had somebody on the table yesterday who was finishing up a class, and she's getting her PhD. She came in. I said, how are you doing today? She's like, I just rushed to finish some of the things I needed to finish this particular course, because then, the semester's ending, or the summer session's ending. She laid down on the table. When she got up, she said to me, oh my gosh. She goes, I feel like I could take on the world. I feel like I could just start right now and redo that entire class. I've got so much energy. I'm so focused. I'm so relaxed. And I came in here all this tense, and I just was able to let it go. So let's close, because we're getting close to 12:30. I want to simply ask you to become curious about sound this week. And you can go watch my podcasts. You can listen to my meditations. They're all on my YouTube channel and on Facebook. Notice the sounds you seek out. Notice the sounds that overwhelm you. Notice what happens when you hum. Try humming this week, and then come back to this video and tell me what your experience was. Notice what happens when you hear your favorite sound or song. Notice what happens when everything becomes quiet. And for some people with a dysregulated nervous system, quiet drives them crazy. People who are regulated can feel more calm with the quiet. So sometimes we have to get used to the quiet. And remember, deep listening isn't just about hearing what's happening around us. It can also help us notice what's happening within us. And that is the inner compass practice understood And that is the inner compass practice underneath all of this. We slow down, we notice, we reconnect. And over time, we learn to trust what we hear inside of us. So thanks for being here with me for True North Tuesday. And just as a reminder, I'm Lori Lindsay, and I run the Inner Compass. And if anything we talked about today resonates with you, I would love to invite you to visit my website and book a complimentary conversation with me. And it's simply a chance for us to talk about where you're at right now and what you are looking for, and whether what I offer feels aligned with you and what you need. And you can find everything on my website at www.lorilindsay.com and look for the section or the page that says Work with Lori. So take good care of yourself this week. And as always, I'm sending you all love and light. So I'm just going to go into the chat. Yes, Sherry, thank you. Thank you for joining us. I love you too. Debbie says, I absolutely love sound bowls. Debbie, if you'd like me to connect you with Felicia, she's our gal. Of course, you know her. You've come to Meditation Monday. Debbie said it makes her feel so relaxed. I assume she's talking about sound. That's the funny thing about when you do a live. It's, when you look over at the comments, to actually piece together in your brain, okay, I wonder if they commented when I was talking about this. So I hope you're all having a blessed day. Love and light to all of you. So, I went over 31 minutes and 30 seconds. So I hope you all have a great day.